The morning sun filters through the small window of Ly Tu Huyen's humble home, casting warm golden rays across the wooden table covered with handmade wedding invitations. The air should be filled with pure joy and excitement, yet something weighs heavy on Huyen's heart. As Ly carefully arranges the invitations, he notices the distant look in her eyes, the way her hands tremble slightly as she holds each card. What decision is tearing at Huyen's soul just days before her wedding? What shadow from the past threatens to dim the light of her happiest moment? In a highland village where forgiveness and new beginnings intertwine, Huyen faces a choice that will test her courage and healing journey. She must decide whether to extend an invitation to the people who once cast her and little Maya out into the cold, rainy night with nowhere to go. Though her former father-in-law now knows the truth and has shown understanding, the wounds still ache. Can Huyen find the strength to bridge the painful past with her hopeful future? Will opening this door bring peace or more heartache? Follow Huyen's brave journey as she discovers that sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the most unexpected blessings. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Life Single to witness every moment of this emotional chapter. The morning begins with such promise. Ly and Huyen, with Maya skipping happily between them, walk through the winding paths of their highland village, carrying a basket filled with red wedding invitations. The mountain scenery unfolds around them like a watercolor painting, with terraced rice fields cascading down the slopes and morning mist clinging to the valleys below. Each house they visit erupts with warm congratulations and genuine happiness for the couple who has overcome so much together. "Sister Huyen, we're so happy for you," exclaims Mrs. Lian, an elderly neighbor who has watched their love story unfold. "You and Brother Ly deserve all the happiness in the world." Her wrinkled hands clasp Huyen's tightly, and tears of joy shine in her eyes. The gesture touches Huyen deeply, reminding her how much this community has supported her during the darkest times. As they continue their rounds, more neighbors respond with equal warmth. Uncle Min, the village elder, pats Ly on the shoulder with approval. "You're a good man, Ly. Taking care of Huyen and little Maya like your own family. That's what real love looks like." Maya beams with pride, hugging her soon-to-be father's leg tightly. The little girl doesn't fully understand all the complexities of adult relationships, but she knows that Ly makes her mother smile again, and that's all that matters in her innocent world. The mountain air carries the scent of wildflowers and fresh earth. Birds sing overhead, and the sound of a distant stream provides a gentle soundtrack to their journey. Everything should feel perfect, yet Huyen's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. Ly notices how she grows quieter with each house they pass, how her responses become more mechanical, less present. He knows his beloved well enough to recognize when something troubles her deeply. As they walk toward the edge of the village, Huyen's steps slow. She knows what lies beyond this path, the direction toward a house that holds memories she wishes she could erase. The weight of her unspoken decision grows heavier with each step. In her mind, she replays that terrible night 3 years ago, the night that changed everything. She can still feel the cold rain soaking through her thin clothes, still hear Maya's frightened cries, still see the hard, unforgiving face of her former mother-in-law standing in the doorway. "You're worthless! A burden! Take your child and leave this house!" The words echo through time, as sharp and cutting now as they were then. Huyen had stood there, holding 3-year-old Maya, with nowhere to go, no money, no shelter. Her husband Thuk was in prison for his reckless behavior, and she had become the scapegoat for all the family's disappointments. What her mother-in-law never told her husband, Maya's grandfather, was the truth. She lied, saying that Huyen had abandoned the family voluntarily, that she was ungrateful and had chosen to leave. For months, Huyen and Maya survived in borrowed spaces, empty shacks with leaking roofs, relying on the kindness of strangers and her own desperate resourcefulness. There were nights when Maya cried from hunger, nights when Huyen questioned whether she could keep going. Then Day appeared in her life like an answer to prayers she was too tired to speak. He didn't judge her past or her circumstances. He simply saw a woman who needed help and a child who needed care, and he offered both without hesitation. Now, standing on the threshold of a new life, a new marriage filled with genuine love and respect, Huyen faces an impossible question. Her former father-in-law, a kind and honest man who had been deceived by his wife, recently learned the truth. He sought Huyen out weeks ago, apologizing with tears in his eyes for not knowing what really happened, for not protecting his granddaughter when she needed him most. He expressed genuine regret and understanding, making it clear he held no grudge against Huyen for moving forward with her life, but knowing that he understands and actually inviting him to witness her happiness are two different things. Would his presence at the wedding bring closure or reopen wounds? Would it dishonor the love she shares with Day by dragging the past into their celebration? Maya tugs at her mother's hand, bringing Huyen back to the present moment. "Mama, are you okay?" the little girl asks with concern beyond her years. Huyen forces a brighter smile and nods, but she knows she cannot keep this burden to herself much longer. The afternoon finds Huyen and Day sitting by the mountain stream that runs through their village, a peaceful spot they often visit when they need to talk about important matters. Maya plays nearby, building small dams with pebbles, and laughing as the water rushes around her creations. The sound of flowing water has always calmed Huyen's anxious heart, and today she needs that calm more than ever. Dee sits patiently, his strong, calloused hands folded in his lap, waiting for Huyen to find her words. He doesn't rush her. This patience, this gentle understanding is one of the 1,000 reasons she loves him. Finally, Huyen takes a deep breath and lets the words flow, like the stream beside them. "Dee, I need to tell you what's been bothering me," she begins, her voice soft but steady. "Ever since we started planning the wedding, there's been a question I can't escape. Should I tell my former father-in-law about our wedding? Should I invite him?" The words hang in the air between them, heavy with implication and unresolved emotion. Dee listens as Huyen pours out her heart. She speaks of the confusion she feels, the strange mixture of gratitude for his recent kindness, and the lingering pain from years of abandonment, even if that abandonment was based on lies not of his making. She talks about how part of her wants to be the bigger person, to extend an olive branch, while another part of her wants to protect her joy, to keep the wedding pure and untainted by any connection to those painful years. He's Maya's grandfather, Huyen continues, her eyes distant. He loves her. I know he does. And when he came to me last month apologizing for everything, I could see his regret was genuine. He's not a bad man, Day. He was just deceived by his wife, my former mother-in-law. But I'm scared. What if inviting him brings back all the pain? What if it makes our wedding day feel complicated instead of joyful? Dee reaches over and takes Huyen's hand, his touch warm and reassuring. He looks at her with those honest eyes that first made her believe in goodness again. "Huyen, can I share something with you?" he asks gently. She nods, grateful for whatever wisdom he might offer. "I think forgiveness isn't always about the other person deserving it," Dee begins thoughtfully. "Sometimes it's about freeing ourselves from carrying the weight of old hurts. Your former father-in-law is a good man who was lied to. He didn't know the truth about what happened to you and Maya. Now that he knows, he's tried to make amends in the way he can." Dee pauses, watching Maya splash in the shallow water, her carefree laughter floating up to them. He loves Maya deeply. I can see that whenever his name comes up, there's still a bond there, even after all this time apart. And from what you've told me, He's never blamed you, never judged you. He only blamed you when he believed the lie that you had abandoned his son and granddaughter voluntarily. Huyen feels tears beginning to form. Day continues, his voice full of compassion. A simple conversation, a gentle word to let him know about our wedding. It doesn't have to mean anything more than that. It doesn't mean you're forgiving what happened to you, because what happened was wrong and terrible. But it might mean you're choosing peace over pain. You're choosing to move forward completely, not carrying this question into our marriage. The wisdom in Dee's words settles over Huyen like a warm blanket. She realizes he's right. This isn't about whether her former in-laws deserve forgiveness or invitation. This is about whether she deserves to live free from the burden of this decision, to enter her new life without the shadow of what if following her. You don't have to invite him to the wedding if that feels like too much, Dee adds. But telling him about it, acknowledging his existence and his connection to Maya, that might bring you more peace than you expect. Whatever you decide, I'll support you completely. This is your journey, your healing. I'm just honored to walk beside you through it. Huyen looks at Day with overwhelming love and gratitude. How did she get so lucky to find someone who understands her so deeply? She thinks about Maya's future, about the kind of woman she wants her daughter to become. She wants Maya to grow up seeing that courage doesn't mean being unafraid. It means doing the right thing even when you're scared. She wants Maya to learn that healing sometimes requires brave conversations and open hearts. The sun begins its descent toward the mountain peaks, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The beauty of the moment feels symbolic, a reminder that even after the darkest nights, light always returns. Huyen makes her decision. She will go to her former father-in-law. She will tell him about the wedding. Not because she owes him anything, but because she owes herself the freedom that comes from closing this chapter with grace rather than avoidance. Thank you, Day, she whispers, leaning her head against his shoulder. Thank you for always knowing what I need to hear. He kisses the top of her head gently, and together they sit watching Maya play. Two people preparing to build a future on foundations of honesty, courage, and unconditional love. The next morning, Huyen prepares herself mentally for the conversation ahead. She chooses her words carefully in her mind, rehearsing what she'll say when she faces her former father-in-law. Her hands shake slightly as she smooths her traditional ao dai, the one De bought her for special occasions. She wants to approach this meeting with dignity, to show that she has not been broken by the past, but has instead grown stronger. The walk to her old house feels longer than she remembers, each step weighted with memories both bitter and bittersweet. This neighborhood once represented hope for young Huyen when she first married Thuk and believed in happily ever after. Now it represents a chapter she thought she'd closed forever. The familiar path, the same trees, even the old gate. Everything rushes back with uncomfortable clarity. Her heart pounds so loudly, she can hear it in her ears. Her palms sweat despite the cool mountain morning. Part of her wants to turn back, to avoid this confrontation entirely. But she thinks of Dee's words, of Maya's future, of the peace she seeks, and she keeps walking forward. Courage, she reminds herself, is not the absence of fear, but action despite it. But then, something unexpected happens. Before Huyen reaches the old house, she sees a figure approaching from the opposite direction. Her former father-in-law is walking toward her, and in his hands, he carries a small wrapped package. Their eyes meet across the distance, and for a moment, both freeze. Time seems to stop as years of complicated history hang between them. The old man reaches her first. His face, weathered by years of hard work and recent emotional turmoil, breaks into a gentle, sad smile. Huyen, he says softly. his voice carrying notes of affection and regret. "I was just coming to find you." Huyen's prepared speech evaporates from her mind. She stands there, speechless, as he continues. "I heard the news. The whole village is talking about your wedding today. I wanted to come and speak with you before the day arrives." Her surprise must show on her face because he chuckles softly, though his eyes glisten with unshed tears. In a small village like ours, news travels faster than the wind, child. When something good happens to good people, everyone wants to share in the joy. He holds out the wrapped package. "This is a small gift. Nothing much. Just something for Maya. I know she loves sweets, and I remember how her eyes used to light up over such simple things." The gesture, so tender and thoughtful, brings immediate tears to Huyen's eyes. "I wanted to tell you," he continues, his voice growing thick with emotion, "that I'm happy for you. Truly happy. You deserve this happiness, Huyen. After everything you've been through, after the terrible injustice my wife inflicted on you and my granddaughter, you deserve a man who will treat you with the respect and love you always deserved." Huyen tries to speak, but the words catch in her throat. He raises his hand gently, asking for permission to continue. "I've watched Dee from a distance. I've heard how he cares for you and Maya. He's a good man, a man of character and kindness. He will be a wonderful father to my granddaughter, better than my own son ever was. That brings me peace, Huyen. It truly does." The old man's voice cracks slightly. "I want you to know something important. I won't be attending your wedding." Huyen's heart sinks for a moment, an unexpected pang of disappointment surprising her. But he quickly explains, saving her from misunderstanding. "I'm not staying away out of anger or pride," he clarifies, his eyes meeting hers with complete sincerity. "I'm staying away because I don't want my presence to cause you any discomfort or to bring back painful memories on what should be the happiest day of your life. I don't want you looking around your wedding celebration and seeing reminders of the suffering you endured. This day belongs to you and Dee, to your future, not to the complicated past." Tears stream freely down Huyen's face now. The grace in his words, the selfless consideration touches something deep in her soul. This is not what she expected. She came prepared for awkwardness, perhaps even conflict. But instead, she finds pure blessing and understanding. "But please know," he adds, his own eyes now wet with tears, "that I will be thinking of you on that day. I will be wishing you every happiness, every blessing that life can offer. I believe in my heart that you and Dee will build something beautiful together. Something my son was never mature enough or stable enough to give you." He steps closer, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Huyen, I need you to hear this. Let go of what has passed. Don't carry those heavy stones into your new life. What my wife did was unforgivable, and I've had to face some hard truths about my own blindness. But you have been given a second chance at happiness. Embrace it fully. Live joyfully. Raise Maya in a home filled with love and laughter. That's all I ask." The old man's hand trembles slightly as he reaches out, not quite touching her, but hovering in the space between them, a gesture of blessing. "Take care of my granddaughter. I know you will. You always have, even when you had nothing. You're a strong woman, Huyen, stronger than you probably know. Maya is lucky to have you as her mother, and she'll be lucky to have Day as her father." Something breaks open in Huyen's chest, a dam of held grief and unforgiven hurt that suddenly releases. She finds her voice at last, though it comes out choked with emotion. "Thank you," she manages. "Thank you for understanding. Thank you for your blessing. Thank you for seeing the truth. Finally," he nods, wiping his own eyes with the back of his weathered hand. "Give Maya my love. Tell her grandfather thinks of her often. and hopes she grows up happy and healthy. And Huyen, be happy. That's all any of us really want for the people we care about. Just be happy. They stand there for a moment longer, two people connected by complicated history, but separated by necessary boundaries. Then, with a final nod of respect and blessing, he turns and walks away. Huyen watches him go, the small package for Maya clutched in her hands, her heart feeling lighter than it has in years. As she walks back toward home, toward Day and Maya and their future together, Huyen realizes something profound. The meeting she feared most has given her the greatest gift, complete release from the chains of the past. Her former father-in-law's grace and understanding have freed her in a way she never expected. She doesn't need his presence at the wedding because she already has his blessing, and that blessing has healed something she didn't even know was still wounded. When Huyen returns home, she finds Day working in their small garden, while Maya helps him plant flowers for the wedding celebration. The moment he sees her face, streaked with tears but radiant with relief, he knows. He drops his tools and comes to her immediately, wrapping her in his strong, safe arms. Through tears and smiles, Huyen tells him everything. She describes the unexpected meeting, the gracious words, the unconditional blessing her former father-in-law offered. She speaks of how he chose to stay away from the wedding, not out of bitterness, but out of love, wanting her Day to be untainted by any shadow of the past. Day holds her tighter, his own eyes growing misty with emotion. "I'm so proud of you," he whispers into her hair. "You were brave enough to face what scared you, and look what happened. You found peace." His words echo with truth. Huyen did find peace, the kind that can only come from confronting our fears and discovering that sometimes the things we dread most bring unexpected grace. Maya, noticing her mother's tears, runs over with concern etched on her small face. "Mama, why are you crying? Are you sad?" The innocent question makes both adults laugh through their tears. Huyen scoops her daughter up, holding her close. "No, my sweet girl. These are happy tears. Mama is very, very happy." And it's true. For the first time in longer than she can remember, Huyen feels completely free. The weight she's been carrying, the questions about her worth, about whether she deserved this second chance, about how to honor the past while embracing the future, all of it has lifted. The three of them stand together in their garden as the afternoon sun bathes the highland village in golden light. The mountains rise around them, eternal and strong, witnesses to human struggles and triumphs. In this moment, they are a family bound not by blood alone, but by choice, by commitment, by unconditional love. Sometimes the conversations we fear most become the very moments that set us free. What Huyen learned today is that forgiveness and moving forward don't require grand gestures or perfect reconciliation. Sometimes they simply require honesty, courage, and the willingness to let others show us grace when we least expect it. Her former father-in-law gave her permission to be happy without guilt, to love Dee without reservation, to build a new life without constantly looking back. The wedding is just days away now, and Huyen can approach it with a completely open heart. She knows that while one grandfather won't be physically present, his blessing will be there in spirit, a quiet acknowledgement that she deserves every bit of happiness coming her way. The past has been honored and released. The future awaits with open arms. Thank you for joining us on this emotional chapter of Huyen and Dee's journey with Life Single. Their story reminds us that healing isn't always linear, that courage comes in many forms, and that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is allow ourselves to be happy. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications because the wedding celebration is coming soon, and you won't want to miss a single moment of this beautiful new beginning. Like this video, if Huyen's courage inspired you, and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to let go of the past and embrace joy. Until next time, remember that love, forgiveness, and second chances are always possible when we open our hearts to grace.